Today's episode is brought to you by the Daily Gardener Friday newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, a podcast featuring garden history and literature. I'm Jennifer Ebling, and today is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Today in garden history, we celebrate the birthday of René Louiche Desfontaines, who was born on this day in 1750. And as you might have guessed, he was a French botanist. After studying in Paris, René botanized in Tunisia and Algeria in North Africa. His masterwork, Flora Atlantica, included 300 new genera. Now, René conducted a fascinating experiment with the sensitive plant, and he wanted to see how the plant would react to a carriage ride through Paris. And what he discovered is that the plant grew accustomed to riding in the carriage. The first couple of times that he drove through town with this plant, it closed its leaves and it wilted. But after a while, it stopped doing that. It got used to the carriage rides. René is remembered in the name Desfontaines spinosa, or Chilean holly, which is native to Costa Rica, Chile, and Argentina. And the Chilean holly, as you might already know, is a beautiful ornamental. And up here in Minnesota, we use it as an annual in our containers. It's hardy to 5 degrees below Celsius or 23 degrees Fahrenheit, but requires winter protection. So if you plan on growing it in a warmer climate, just make sure that you don't let it get too cold. And today is also the birthday of Samuel Graveson, who was a Quaker printer, publisher, stamp collector, and author who lived in England. He was born on this day in 1869. In his book, My Villa Garden, great book from 1915, Samuel wrote, "What? Another book of gardening? Are not our bookshelves already overburdened with literature on the subject?" And today, in 1898, a court case involving the sale of an orchid and breach of warranty was settled in favor of the plaintiff. In Ashworth versus Wells, the plaintiff bought a white orchid with a warranty that it was a one-of-a-kind Cattleya acklandiae alba, a white orchid, only to discover 2 years later when it bloomed that it was just a common purple orchid. The plaintiff was awarded £50, or the price paid for the imposter white orchid. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Rosie Sanders Flowers by Rosie Sanders. This book came out in 2017, and the subtitle is A Celebration of Botanical Art. Now, Rosie's paintings are known for their richness, their drama, and their sensuality. They are beautiful. They'll take your breath away. And this book showcases 80 of Rosie's paintings, which celebrate some of our favorite flowers: tulips, orchids, roses, irises, anemones, and amaryllis, just to name a few. And if you didn't get flowers for Valentine's Day, consider grabbing a copy of Rosie's book. By the way, Rosie also has a book that focuses specifically on roses. So if you like this book, you'll love that book too. You can get a copy of Rosie Sanders Flowers by Rosie Sanders and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $22. Finally, we end the show today with a botanic spark that is suitable for Valentine's Day. This is a little love story from 2010, and it was on this day back in that year that Georgia botanist Mincy Moffett Jr. staged a special Valentine's Day for a rare dwarf sumac species known as the Michaud sumac, which is native to the Lower Broad River Wildlife Management Area in Georgia. Now, Mincy's plan was an ingenious one. He not only increased public awareness around this endangered plant, this dwarf sumac, But he also helped save a species that desperately needed human-engineered botanical intervention for survival. Now, let me back up here a little bit and tell you about how this plant ended up in such dire circumstances. Back in 2010, the Micho sumac was found in just 2 small areas of Georgia, and a lot of this had to do with the way the woodland transformed into a forest, which cut off sunlight and which also impacted the sumac and its native growing areas. And so what ended up happening is that by 2010, there were just 2 little plant communities left of this sumac. Now, one of the populations was made up of just 5 male plants, and the other community was all female. Additionally, the male and the female sumac plants were separated by 70 miles of dense forest. And because they were not growing near each other, the plants were not able to reproduce with insect pollination, and they were forced to reproduce asexually, which resulted in reduced genetic diversity, and that threatened their survival. But thanks to Mincy's romantic intervention on this day, back in 2010, female plants were planted near the male plants. And Mincy told a local reporter, "Let's hope it turns into a torrid romance." Well, now more than a decade later, it appears that Mincy's matchmaking was a success as the combined Micho sumac community continues to thrive. They've built a great little family down there. Isn't that sweet? Well, that's it for today's show. Just a reminder that you have a standing invitation to join the Facebook group for listeners of the show. The next time you're over at Facebook, just search for Daily Gardener Community, where you'd search for a friend and request to join. And if you'd like more of The Daily Gardener, you can subscribe to the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org, where you can also show your support for the show by donating to The Daily Gardener. This is Jennifer Ebling. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.